Well, hello and good morning. I invite you to come along with me on a little hypothetical question journey real quick. Let's say, hypothetically, you're a guy or a gal who's in the market for a cheaper sports car. Let's also hypothetically say that you're kind of interested in a 986 Boxster. Now let's also hypothetically say that you're a guy or gal who likes to dabble in the occasional autocross event. And you're wondering, would such a car be good in such a setting? How does it stack up against the competition? And in the case of the SCCA rules for autocross, that means the NC and ND Miatas, along with a lot of other very competitive vehicles. The answer for all of that is, I don't know. But we're currently on our way to find out.
Pull back, drop in, and just smack the lip.
Well, everyone, here we are. Spring has sprung, the sun is out, and it is nice and warm outside. And to celebrate that, I have reintroduced to my website the old head and neck protector 5000, aka my Fun Ahead TV straw hats. I have marked these things down 14% off on my website for a very, very limited time. These are an absolutely essential thing to have for all of your outdoor motorsports events this summer. Get them while they're hot. Thank you in advance for supporting the channel. I appreciate you so very much. Yes, you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning into Fun Ahead TV today. We're heading down to Cincinnati to go to the first autocross event of the year, and it is also, coincidentally, the first autocross event for Project Budget Base Model Boxster.
Sensational.
And I could not be more thrilled to finally get this thing out of the garage after a long winter and stretch its legs a bit. I bought this car about 6 months ago now on the West Coast from my buddy's dad in Seattle, Washington, and I road tripped it all the way home. We've since done an engine out service wherein we replaced a lot of the aging rubbers and plastics that go bad on these engines over time to kind of bring this thing back around, and she is fresh, people. These cars handle very, very well. And no, they don't have a ton of power, but they're fairly light. That normally adds up to quite the winning formula within the autocross realm. So, today, we find out. I'll meet you guys there in a little bit, and we'll start to put this thing to the test up against that stiff competition we talked about.
Well, here we are, Traders World International Speedway. Let's first do a quick course overview before hopscotching straight into that action. So, here is our course for today. Traders World is pretty known for having longer, fairly high-speed tracks with some nice, challenging features built in. So we come straight out of the gate with a 90-degree stage to start, keeps everyone more on a level playing field. You don't have that straight out of the gate start where the higher horsepower cars have more of an advantage. You get more speed than you think into this first little left-right chicane, which makes this a fairly challenging feature in itself, into a sweeping 180-degree left-hander. Coming around the track a little bit more, this left-right chicane into turn 3 is a pretty challenging feature. The left-hander is off camber, plus you're carrying a ton of speed straight into this fairly sharp increasing radius corner. Then you go straight into a slalom, which has a little bit of a kink to it with this fourth cone. Then out the back here into turn 5, this is a pretty high speed section, and this last right-hander before the finish line was deceiving. It seemed sharper than it is, but you had a lot of room to run out up to that left wall.
So I was definitely pretty nervous going into this event. Not only was it the first high-performance driving event of the year after a long winter, but it was the first time running this car at an event. Just kind of made for a lot of unknowns, so I definitely had that first run jitters feeling big time. Plus the fact that my broski Mitchell wasn't able to make this particular event, so it was just me by myself with my feelings getting more anxious than I should have been. But I'd say overall my feelings were kind of justified for the reasons I already mentioned. Plus last year, all year, we ran in E Street, which is one of the slowest classes. This year, we're running in C Street. NC, ND Miatas. Those are some heavy, heavy hitters. So running this car inherently means that we're up against some much stiffer competition in our class, so that was definitely playing into my nerves situation as well. But finally, even though I was nervous, here was the reality of the situation. I was literally the epitome of run what you brung. The only thing that I did was I maxed out the front camber and the front suspension. That's like an extra 1.5 degrees of camber in the front to help turn in a little bit. Other than that, this thing is completely a street setup. The front tires on this thing are 10-year-old Michelin Pilot Sports, and while those are a fairly aggressive tire, they're 10 years old. And the rears are the Kumo crappy all seasons that we had to install on the car in Salt Lake City while driving it home. All four corners of this car are not gripping up the way they should for autocross competition. The car has basically zero competitive edge, so I was just out there with the intent to have fun anyway.
All right, now kicking things off, I sure did come out swinging. Going into that first left-right hand chicane, your boy overdrove it big time. That plus I majorly had a case of the cold tires. Then later in the lap, the chicane approaching turn 3, case of the cold tires struck yet again because I was full ABS through that entire braking zone and the car still could not slow itself down. The tires just did not have the grip. So needless to say, ran off the track, DNF'd. But what's interesting is the lap time wasn't actually all that bad. 43.186, which of course does not count because I went off course, but that ended up being the fastest time of C-Class to my surprise. That was when I knew we've got something with this Boxster. So for the next couple of rounds, there was a lot of fun back and forth between myself and this ND Miata. We were running neck and neck basically. He would leap ahead of me, then I would leap back ahead of him, then vice versa, and we keep going like that for several rounds. Finally, by round 3, I got a clean run and jumped ahead of him significantly. He had just jumped ahead of me with a 41.015. Then I went up several minutes later and put down a 40.121, almost 9/10 better than his most recent run. So while that took some pressure off my shoulders, it definitely seemed to have added some onto his because for the next several rounds, he was not able to improve on his time. Fortunately, however, I was able to improve on mine. By run 6, I crossed the line with a 39.478, putting myself 1.5 seconds ahead of second place.
So just to make something extremely clear, I'm not trying to come off as braggadocious whatsoever. I just think that speaks so much to what I had kind of felt from the very first time I ever drove this car, and that is these Boxsters are so deeply underrated. When people think of autocross, they think of Miatas, they think of S2000s, they think of the GR86, but these cars oftentimes get overlooked. These things are just such natural-born sports cars. This thing has the original, honestly clapped out suspension in it. It was running on tires that have no business being on an autocross course, and yet it did so much better than the other 6 people in C Street. I'm not saying that I'm a good driver, I'm just saying the car just helped me that much. So going back to our original set of hypothetical questions about if you're someone who's interested in buying one of these and also potentially wanting to go take it to an autocross race, would it be a good car to try and, stack up against the competition? The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely. I think it's just gained that bad rap over the years with IMS bearing and the fact that it kind of became a hairdresser car for a while, or arguably maybe still is, but you cannot deny the fact that it is just an undeniably amazing sports car. They're not glass like everyone thinks that they are. That's just many years of the wrong people being on forums, giving them a bad name. Again, quarter-century-old car. If you keep up on the maintenance and do all the right things to mechanically restore them, then they will absolutely be a total sweetheart to you, and odds are it's gonna end up being one of your favorite cars. So, thank you all so much for going along with me on that journey today where we answered one of life's biggest questions, and that is, should you buy a 986 Boxster if you're someone who wants to just drive it around town and drive it into the nearest autocross race? Yes, absolutely. Would recommend 10 out of 10. Thank you all so much for being here today. I really appreciate all of you for being here. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a huge favor and hit that thumbs up, and please subscribe as it helps out my channel massively, and it helps you out because then you get to see super cool automotive content coming down the pipeline to you via Fun Ahead TV every single week. Thank you all again so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Yes, you, I'm looking right at you, and I will see you all in next week's episode. See ya.
Go back. Drop in and just smack the lip.